Hello, Erin. Oh, people are finally pulling in. Awesome. Let's see. I don't know if anyone was a part of the introduction from last month, but once again, I'm terrible with technology. So I'm just kind of figuring out the buttons here. This is my second time using Google. I'm used to other stuff. So hopefully people can hear me. That's the first step. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, we have 5 people right now. I'll mention it later in case more people come in. I am trying to record this. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, maybe clips or post the whole episode, because I know with time zones and things, some people can't attend. Okay, let me go to the chat so I have that. And let me see how I get that. Okay, yep. I'm getting familiar with it. Okay. So this was a kind of spur of the moment thought. I don't really have a game plan. Just like I did some notes, a couple pages of notes and different things. Was up very late last night and this morning trying to finish it because I was not aware that there was 12 episodes that Lena Luthor was in. I thought it was like 6 or 8 or something. Like, oh, that's manageable, but not 12. Okay. Let me see. Going back to kind of one of my first thoughts was people here last month, or are there new people here that haven't been before? Feel free to use the chat or speak up if you'd like.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Sam from India.
Hi, Sam. Are you coming here from Instagram or Twitter or X? Where did you hear about this?
Instagram.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So you were not here last month with my intro?
No.
Okay.
This is my first time.
Awesome. Well, welcome. I'm so happy that you can come. Basically, last month I gave an introduction about myself and the book club. We got on to random things like Lilo and Stitch. So if you happen to come to next week's book meeting, we probably will be discussing that. But welcome. And just a couple things about me is that I started the book club with a friend. Long story short, I became a Katie fan through Supergirl. I ended up being on vacation, found Stan's Twitter, ended up meeting someone, talking about books and what books Katie had read. We became closer friends, and then we started the book club. So that's kind of my story, meeting Katie and starting the book club. We have more people joining us. So the 2 people that just joined, heads up, this is recording. I don't know what's going to be done with it, but if people want certain things to be cut or whatever, like absolutely, I'll figure that out. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Okay, does anyone else want to share if this is their first time with us, where they learned about the book club, and then even where they first met Katie and whether or not Supergirl was their first interaction with her as an actress?
Say it. Hey, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Welcome back.
First time. I was going to join last time, but then ended up being out because time zones. I forgot about it. Time is a complicated construct from that side of things. This is the first time actually being free at this point in time. I am English, so first met Katie through Merlin because I'm a massive nerd. But loved Merlin back in the day, so got very, very excited. But I was watching Supergirl before she came into the show, and then got very, very excited. I was like, this is amazing. I'll love this, just because it was one of my favorite actresses coming into something that was like my favorite show at the time. So I was like, yay. And yes, that's kind of my history with Katie and this, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Rachel, for sharing that. For the majority of the people I've talked to, it's either been Supergirl or Merlin. I feel like next month maybe we'll do Merlin. I'm not quite sure. leave it open to, you know.
Merlin would be a lot to watch if you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't do a day beforehand. Might take a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, that's why I did season 2. And like I said a couple minutes ago, I thought that it was only a handful of episodes. I didn't realize Lena was in 12. It's been so long.
Funny that it always blows my mind that it started off at something like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do 3.
Yes.
It's not working. We're going to expand that.
Yeah. And there was even a point where I'm watching all this and taking all my notes. That I was like, maybe I should just do the pilot and not the whole season, because it's just there's so much to talk about. And I hope that everyone will discuss whether it be speaking now, like unmuting, or in the chat as well. Otherwise, you're just going to hear me and just chat a lot. So thank you, Rachel, for sharing how you learned about Katie. Does anyone else have anything to add before we get started? No? Okay, perfect. So first thing on my notes, quick disclaimer, and I did this last meeting as well. This is a children's TV show. On Twitter, the book club is a range of different ages. I don't know necessarily everyone behind screens, so we could just be talking about PG stuff, but we could also, like Lilo and Stitch, but we could also go to Boobs in a Cage. So in that dress and more mature content and discussion. So if you are under a certain age, please make sure you have parental consent and advise. Just want to make sure that's out there. And then also, because this is discussion based, everyone's opinion is welcomed. So please feel free to share your thoughts, even if some other people disagree. So that's really that. Just have it kind of be like a school discussion, almost fun, but school, like if you were to like bring drinks to class or something. So okay, so thank you, Rachel. My idea for how this would work is I have 2 little kind of like quick segments that I'm thinking of doing later on when the time hopefully presents itself. But go through each episode. We can go over the little synopsis of it, and then we can talk about it. Obviously, some are more Lena-centric than others, more Katie in that kind of note. But if anyone else ever has a different idea, I'm open to it. This whole live streaming thing is very new to me. I'm very used to being someone behind a screen or listening in and then just participating in a chat. So being in a more host role is very new to me. So I'm very open to ideas and constructive criticism. Okay. Let me look at my notes. So the first is the pilot. And like I had mentioned before, and someone else had mentioned earlier that this Lena Luthor arc was only supposed to be for a couple of episodes. It clearly was not, because there was 12. And you can kind of see that change through not only this season, but in the series going forward with reoccurring characters like Lillian and Brenda Strong, and how just Katie's acting in connection to other characters had such a depth that it led the series to what I believe a completely different direction than what it was originally going to be. So it'll be really cool to take a look into that and to hear everyone's thoughts and ideas. So the first episode is obviously the pilot of season 2. It's called The Adventures of Supergirl. And I'm going to pull up on my phone what the little excerpt says. It just in case people didn't watch it, I need to remember to. It says Supergirl and Clark team up to stop a new threat emerging in National City. Alex feels left out while Kara's family stays in town. don't think that happened in this episode. And a pod comes crashing down to Earth. So no mention of Lena. She has a really big role in this episode for helping out, and in this question of is she good, isn't she good, because she is a new character. The first scene in this episode is Kara popping champagne. So first things first, I would like to extend a toast. It's not champagne, it's martini. To you guys and to Katie and Lena Luthor. Cheers. Lena Luthor has been through a lot in this season. So I believe that it deserves some recognition. She was framed, she was kidnapped, she was thrown off a balcony, she was knocked out, she had to shoot someone, she had to kill her ex, and she was almost forced into marriage and having an heir. That, I believe, represents the journey that Lena will have for the rest of the series. She's always getting knocked down, but ultimately she picks herself up. So that's just a lot to go through. Does anyone have anything that they would like to say about episode 1? No? Okay. There was the one scene where Clark and Kara are in Lena's office, and she goes, "And who are you exactly?" to Kara. And that one line, "and who are you exactly," represents what Kara is thinking and what she's trying to figure out that whole episode. You have Kat that gave her this silver platter of any job that she wants, and she has Supergirl, and she's figuring that out, but who is Kara Danvers? So that one line from Lena really is the theme of the episode. That scene is very good. Yes, it is. One very quick side note. Wait, I have to get my old notes because it's on there. And this is Cat Grant, and this is completely like different from Lena and Katie. But when I heard it, I laughed. So one of the parts of this episode is there's this venture launch, and it explodes, and Lena was supposed to be in the seat, but she wasn't, so they think it was her. And so it's this launch or whatever is supposed to be filled with very high profile people. And Cat Grant goes, "They offered me a seat on the venture, but I turned them down. What would I possibly have in common with a bunch of rich people in a rocket ship seeking existential answers to their meaningless lives?" In current news, there was something like that recently. So I just thought that, the whole Katy Perry thing and other people that went up into space, I just thought that was hilarious. Hearing this from something years later, things that Cat Grant says, still relatable, still hilarious, and I wish she had a longer time on the show, but she did not. And then the let me see. Let me look at the chat first. That line was the start of something beautiful between them. Yes, that was. Given her recent podcast, I watch every time she picks up something from now on. Yes, Erin as well. And then speaking of the recent podcast, Katie explained something called Katie Rage. And that is a little segment that I would like to try and incorporate. So what's something that makes you rage in the episode, in the season? For me, in this episode, what gave me Katie Rage was in the scene when they're fighting Corbin. So Lena does her announcement calling it L Corp, the Luthor Corp, and Corbin attacks, and there's fighting. Supergirl's doing stuff, Alex is doing stuff, Corbin has Alex, Lena shoots, Superman's there too. And in the end, Alex says, "Great job, Supergirl." And Supergirl goes, "Oh, I had help," and looks at Superman. Lena's the one that shot him. She's the one that helped. I mean, Superman did help, but in the end, in that moment, that transition, there was no recognition towards Lena and her helping. And we continue to see that episode after episode. So that is my Katie rage, is there is no recognition at all. And then there is the constant, oh, like the Luthers. I'm like, from what we know at this point in the series, it's really only Lex that is bad. A singular Luthor, not Luthers, plural. Like right at this point, we don't know who Lillian is and what she does. We don't know any history within the family other than Lex's crimes. So James constantly nagging about it and making comments, and then Alex agreeing, and Wynn, and like everyone just keeps coming like, oh, it's a Luthers. I'm like, how many times does she have to prove herself? So anyways, that is my rant. That is my Katie rage. Does anyone else have an example of Katie rage from either this episode or season? Okay, Erin says, watching the first few episodes of season 2 brought me back to how relevant the show is almost 10 years later. Yes, and that is a good segue, thank you, Erin, to episode 3, where there's the alien detection device. Kara has to write an article about Lena. Let me just pull up a little synopsis. It's episode 3, Welcome to Earth. Alex and Detective Sawyer investigate an attack on the president, and Kara searches for a recently escaped alien she thinks is behind the assault. And then I am really bad with names, so I apologize if this is Sam, right, who commented. I'm really bad with names and pronunciation, but Sam says, to carve out new character plots of Lena and Lillian and showing that the Luthor family is much beyond Lex was a surprise. Yeah, I really liked that. But then I feel like going into the future seasons and bringing Lex back, or bringing Lex in, spoiler alert, decreased a little bit from that. But yeah, it definitely was a surprise in at least season 2. One thing that I really liked about in this episode is that Kara has to write an article about Lena, and Snapper's constantly doing this to Kara. But like, no, your article sucks. Like, you got to rewrite it. You got to take different things into consideration and stuff. So what that ends up leading to is the scene with Lena and Kara, and Lena's saying, I thought that like you would do a hatchet job on me, or whatever the quote is. And Kara admits, I had a scathing review, like an article about this. My original plan was this. And so that makes at least me wonder what their relationship would have been if Kara had if her original article about the alien detection device and Lena Luthor was published. How would that have changed her relationship with Lena? But those are really my thoughts on episode 3, Welcome to Earth. Does anyone else have any thoughts or anything that they would like to say? I love that. That is hilarious and very true. And the fact that we talked about Lilo and Stitch last week, we're going to have to do a Lilo and Stitch watch party. And that's a very good example. And the way I kind of interpreted the Katie rage, and I've only seen clips of it. I haven't watched the whole entire episode on Patreon. But that's very true to what you said. And that kind of puts my thoughts and ideas about it into something like a physical explanation. So thank you for that. So that was awesome. Does anyone else? Yes, Rachel says that's epic. Yes. Sam says that revelation would have been really early for the character Lena to know about Kara. Yes, that's going back to the article, I believe, in the alien detection device. Does anyone else have anything to add to anything that Erin said or episode 3? I do want to say, if anyone has thoughts that are about an episode and it's not even Katie and Lena related, please bring it forward. One of the things that I loved about watching this, and because I haven't seen it in a while, so it felt a little almost fresh, but the Maggie and Alex, the beginning of their relationship this season, I thought that was very it was good, and I'm also in a different mind space and place than where I was years ago when I saw the series. And just like Erin said, it's really great to have a show that you can watch something years later and still kind of relate and see things in this world happening. I think in the beginning seasons, the writers of Supergirl did a really good job with that. So that is, I look forward to, talking about that more. We will then go on to episode 4, which is Survivors. And it is about the Fight Club. And let's see. It says Kara and Alex find an alien fight club run by Roulette while investigating the murder of an unregistered alien. Hank tries to get to know Magan better, and Supergirl begins to train Monel. And then Rachel says, I love how the look of Lena evolves over the season. Early episodes, she is so sharp and presentable as a CEO, and you can tell as the character becomes a more long-term plan, there's a certain softening in her look. Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to talk about that too, so that's perfect. You get the first moment you see her, and it's very CEO and sharp and dark colors and deep reds. And even the way her hair is styled, the makeup, it's very contrasting with her outfit. And then as we get later on, the tones kind of more soften. Her hair is not as straight. It kind of curls a little bit. It's that softening look. One of my favorite things about rewatching this is seeing all the Lena Luthor outfits. The podcast Supergirl Radio has an amazing segment called Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom, because let's face it, some of her outfits, you're like, that's not appropriate for this location or theme or meeting or whatever, but it's an amazing outfit. So if you ever listen to that podcast or anything, I highly recommend you checking out that segment because it's absolutely hilarious. Does anyone else have anything to say about Lena's wardrobe and what their favorite stuff is? Maybe even least favorite too. Like there's got to be a least favorite outfit. Erin says, I love those segments. Yes, they're the best. The other day, was it last week? They do a live stream every Tuesday. The Supergirl Radio podcast does. And they did end up doing another Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom because Lena's featured in a new Supergirl comic. So that was great to have that segment back. Sam says, it's kind of creating a contrast to Lex Sharp character too. It was an indication of good side of losers too. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. And then I don't know if it was this season, but there's definitely a reference. Oh yeah, it was when she was in jail, and I think someone said if she was going to go bald like her brother. So I guess shout out to that Twitter account that was like Bald Katie or Bald Lena. So does anyone else have anything to say about Lena's wardrobe or anything, or if they have a favorite one or anything fun? Nope. I will say though, Roulette's dress and her look, I think, was very iconic. Very different than what we normally see in characters. So you can instantly tell that she's bad and she's badass and all that stuff. One thing that I referenced or took note of is that Lena knew about the Fight Club. It being in her circles, she knows she probably can't do anything about it. But when Kara came and asked, she immediately knew the location. She had it in her mind and she wrote it down. She didn't have to like look at anything or like, oh yeah, like let me find the invite or something. Like she knew of that. Like she knew it right away. Barbara says, I found Lena so charming. When Kara goes to her office and asks she knows anything about the fights. Yes, and you have to also think of Lena doesn't know Kara that much at this point, and neither does Kara know Lena. I mean, Kara obviously believes in her and all that stuff, but to go up to someone and say, hey, like, do you know about this illegal activity? Can you give me the information? And having Lena trust Kara in that situation. Sam says it felt like Roulette's dragon tattoo might become real in any moment. Yes, and that's one of the best things I love about that is it looked so good and so real. And I feel like towards like some of the end of the series that we lost a little bit about that, like of that look. It was so like refined, like the detail of it. It was very good. If that makes sense. Erin says, one boardroom ballroom that is hilarious is on the series finale of Supergirl, where they discuss the last things that all the characters were wearing. Okay. Yep. So if anyone wants to check out that it's a Supergirl radio podcast, that's what Erin is referring to. Let's see. Does anyone else have anything to say about Lena's outfits or any outfits, Roulette's outfits, anything in the series or season? Okay. Correct me if I am wrong, but there was a very important character introduction in this episode, and that is Jess. And if anyone has ever read a fan fiction or anything, like they know Jess is a very important character. And I really wish that she made other appearances in the series, just as like a little like background and stuff, because we know later on, like her assistants betray her and everything. So Rachel says, I love Jess. Jess is queen. And Barbara says, our queen as well. It's crazy Jess is never seen again, says Aaron. Yeah, it really is. But what I love is just how the fandom and everything just took off with that one minor, like little teeny character, one-line character. Sam says, oh, Jess is found in almost every fanfic of Supercorp. Yes. Yeah, and she should. She deserves that. Yeah. Let me see. Does anyone else have anything to say about Jess? Okay. Anyone have anything to say about episode 4, which is Survivors? No. Okay. Next is episode 5 called Crossfire. Let me okay. And it's crazy, just I'm looking at the dates here, that this was all released in 2016. That's 9 years. That's insane. That it's almost been a decade. It says Supergirl battles a ruthless new gang with dangerous alien technology. The team discovers Cadmus is staffing the criminals for a secret mission. Mon-El gets a job as an intern at Catco. Lena invites Kara to a fundraiser. Rachel says, okay, now I feel old. I can't believe that is 9 years ago. Yeah. But just like we were saying earlier, like this relates to a lot of stuff nowadays. So, time passes, and some things are, I guess, are lasting. Okay, so episode 5, Crossfire. I find it interesting that in this little tidbit that I read, Lena invites Kara to a fundraiser, because one thing that stuck out to me is when Lena goes to Catco and she says, "You're my only friend in National City. Will you come to my gala?" And then she also calls it a party a couple times, and then it's also called a fundraiser. So I thought it was just kind of interesting that the writers kept using those 3 words interchangeably. Maybe was to decrease saying the same word over and over again, which Supergirl has had a problem of doing that. There's usually one word and it's kind of a theme. But I guess the most important part was that Lena came and it's admitted, "You're my only friend in National City. Like, let me guilt trip you a little bit just to come to my party." But in the end, she had this whole master plan, and took a risk, which then she has that conversation with Supergirl about setting up this gang that has all these alien tools, and that Lena can't live in fear. And she gives that advice to Supergirl, which, once again, going back to the pilot episode when Lena goes, "Who are you exactly?" She's saying something also very important to Supergirl at this time, like you can't live in fear. And Luthor and Super working together. Another very important part of the episode, just a line of the episode that then carries on later on in the series. Then kind of also circling back to my little Katie rage, which I guess now is not little small thing because I keep ranting about it. But Lena goes to Kara's apartment and sees Alex, and Lena goes, "You saved my life." And then Alex is like, "Oh yeah, I'm a federal agent." Lena shot Corbin. So Lena saved Alex's life. That. That's my little Katie rage. Sam says, and how Mon-El keeps getting excited in the background for no reason when he hears about the party. Yes. This may not be a popular opinion, but when I was watching back, I kind of liked Mon-El a little bit more than what I expected to. I kind of his goofiness. I thought it was funny in a way, and I mean, it did get a little old a little quickly and everything. And then there's the stuff later on in the series, but it gave this little lightness to the episodes and things. And I thought, if you're an alien and you wake up in a place, the DEO, in a cage, and there's all these agents, what are you gonna do? You are gonna try and escape. Then you learn all this stuff, and then of course you're gonna try and fit in, but then you are caught up in this lie that you're the assistant or servant to the prince, and that's not true. So I don't know. I found it very interesting that I liked Mon-El in the first episodes a little bit more than I did later on. Aaron says, "I've done rewatches and I like Mon-El more than I remember from the first watch." Yeah, and that's even the same for me with Snapper too. I thought Snapper was hilarious. And yeah, he gets on Kara a lot, but then I'm looking at all this, all the information he's saying, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true from a professional standpoint. And maybe it's because, this is 9 years later and I'm not, a student anymore. I'm in a professional world. I'm like, yes, Snapper, you're exactly right. Kara, go get those sources, go get that information. So it's very, very interesting. Does anyone have any thoughts on anything that I just kind of ranted or said, or on episode 5, which is Crossfire? Rachel says Kara at times is really not good at making sure she does her cat coat job. Yeah, 100%. Erin says, in theory, yeah. Oh, going back to Rachel very quickly. If you have watched or listened to the Supergirl radio podcast, they always used to talk about the Pelicans, the Pelicans, because Kara was supposed to write an episode about pelicans, and she kind of brushed it off. So I hope those pelicans are doing okay. Erin says, in theory, they went a different way with the character. Lena saying, "You are my one friend," could have been her mainly using Kara. Oh, yep, that's true. That's very true. And kind of what I said, I'm like, oh, you're going to bribe someone to go. And I had to rewind it a couple times, but if you go back to and I didn't mention this, I was probably going to mention it a little bit later for the, in the finale. But when Lena's in the helicopter and it gets shot down and she screams, it almost sounds like she's saying Kara. And so I wonder if when Kara says, "Oh, I flew here on a bus," kind of thing, like Lena knows. Because when Rhea says, and this is episodes later, thank the gods, Lena knows that Rhea's an alien. So why couldn't she detect that when Kara says, "Oh, I flew her on a bus," that Lena doesn't connect the dots there? If that makes sense. Aileen says, Lena always saves everyone and hardly gets thanked for, and often gets blamed when something bad is happening. It's my Katie rage. Same. That's my theme for this. This little meetup is my Katie rage for it, because Lena's absolutely not recognized, and she goes through so much. And she is constantly doing things on her own. This whole episode, she like does this whole setup by herself. There's other episodes like that she does by herself, and she's always there like to kind of save the day, and it gets brushed off. Like she shot Corver and everything like that. So thank you guys for saying all of that. Does anyone else have anything to say before we get into episode 8, which is Medusa? Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah, okay. Barbara says, I have this impression that deep down she always knew, but was attached to believing in her relationship with Kara. Yes. Yeah, and I apologize. Because where was it? Someone in the chat had said something. That I had a thought and then I kind of lost it. But that I believe that Lena did kind of know, especially when I saw that helicopter scene. And I hope you guys go back and listen to it, because it does, like, either the screaming is of her saying Kara, but Lena's been so traumatized so many times that she can't really trust anyone. And you get to that scene where, which is in not episode 8, but episode 12, where Kara says, "You're my hero." Like, you're not. If I was Lena, like I would probably do the same thing. Like, you just, kind of block out all that stuff. So absolutely, I agree with that, Barbara. Okay, so episode 8 is Medusa, which is when Eliza visits for Thanksgiving. Alex decides to come out to her. Meanwhile, Wynn and James consider revealing the truth about the Guardian to Kara. Barry Allen and Cisco Raymond, sorry, I don't watch The Flash, seek Kara's help with an alien invasion, which I'm surprised that made the cut, because that was literally only like a blip in the episode. But once again, in this episode, Lena's working alone. Kara goes to Lena's office, prying about Lillian. Lena clocks it. And then you have this scene between Lillian and Lena, which once again is another theme or reoccurring theme or topic for this season and series, is Lena goes, "You told me you loved me. We both know that's not true." And so it's with these rewatches, I like going and seeing those lines and going, yeah, you're right. Like, that's not true. Like in, I forget what season it is, but when Lillian comes back, you're like, yep, she doesn't really love Lena at all. Which I have another thought, but that's next episode. And does anyone have any thoughts about Kara crying about Lillian or any of that kind of stuff, or the Lillian and Lena introduction to the series?
I think overall, as kind of a DEO side of things, it takes them a real while to figure out that Lena is a completely separate person, and using her to get to the Luthers is just not a fair thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this person who has been traumatized by these people, we're going to use them as our way to get all this information that we want. And we're going to kind of, they do a lot of times where they're like, yes, we care about her, but they don't care enough to actually go, oh, no, you're actually really, really hurting about it, and we should actually support you rather than just kind of needle you and go, we want this information. Sort of thing.
Yeah, just simply ask. Like, Kara went and asked about the Roulette Fight Club, and Lena was like, oh, yeah, here you go. Bloop. Like, here's a piece of paper. Like, just ask her about it. Like, don't try and trick her.
Yes, they need to. They expect her to trust them without giving the trust back in return.
Yes,
which is just unfair.
Yep, which brings me to the quote I wrote down. Lena goes to Supergirl and says, "You put that symbol on. You put on that symbol, and everyone thinks you're good." Lena doesn't have that, and that's constant. And then even Kara, like, you see that little hesitancy when Kara kind of like, "Oh yeah, I can do this. Like, I can ask Lena," but Erin says the Thanksgiving episode has a great background scene where Kara takes Alex's beer and puts it in the fridge, and Alex sneaks back to the fridge and grabs another drink. Yes, I absolutely wanted to talk about that because that was hilarious, especially since Alex was only drinking a beer, and then Kara puts it in the freezer, which you don't put beer in a freezer because it will explode. And so then Alex grabs the stronger drink instead of grabbing the beer back. She's like, I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm gonna go grab this, which is stronger. Yeah. So that, thank you, Erin, for bringing that up. That is absolutely hilarious and one of my favorite scenes. Just that background work was so good. And jumping forward, that reminds me of the scene. It was either the finale or the one before that, when Lena was with Mon-El in the ship, and Mon-El's like fighting the guys, and Lena's just like in the background, like walking back and like shoots the guy. Like, she just kind of like walks over, like behind the background, shoots him, and then she does the cool opening the door thing with her crown. So like, I think just those little details in the background, just those two episodes were great. Does anyone else have anything to say about episode 8, Medusa? Erin says, I love the background stuff. Yes. Does anyone else have any examples of the background stuff? Even in future seasons? Okay, so now we are jumping episodes. So we're at episode 8, and now we're on 12, which is Luthers, which is a very fun one. Okay, this was in 2017, so not 2016, just a little, they had a little break. So it makes me feel not as old. It says Lena is arrested when Metallo breaks Lillian out of prison, and evidence suggests that she is responsible. Kara fights to clear Lena's name, and Alex introduces Maggie to the gang. Let me see. This is a very important episode for a couple reasons. Lena finds out she's a Luther. And one thing that one of my favorite thoughts, I guess, throughout the whole season, and I really hope that we can discuss it, and if it's wrong or not, and just to kind of hear your thoughts about it. So Lena finds out she's a Luther, and we also see young Lena. And in that scene with young Lena, Lionel says to her, "This is your new mom." And then it pans to Lex, who says, "I'm your new brother. Want to play?" Meaning the chess game. Moments before, it was Lex and Lillian playing. Now, suddenly, Lex sees this little girl who Lillian already has, like, we discussed this, like, what is she doing here kind of thing, like, already negative about. And we don't know if Lex, like, heard or saw that. But Lex introduces, like, "Do you want to play? You want to play with me?" So in that moment, just with 1 second of seeing her, he replaces Lillian in his life with her. And my thought on that is that later on, like, that was the moment that Lillian despised Lena, because it only took a look from Lex to invite her in and to replace her from playing chess, and then that led to other things that we kind of, like, Lena kind of spills and all that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of my big thought. If anyone has anything that they want to share or add about that. Yep. Barbara says it makes sense. Thank you for the validation. I appreciate that. Rachel says Lena in the scene in the van with Lillian in this episode breaks my heart. Yeah, there was some really great acting by Katie in this episode. Just her eyes and her emotions and her facial expressions. I thought it was really, really good. And of course, you get that scene where Kara goes, "You are my hero." It's one of my favorite Lena Kara scenes. But like, I didn't really, that was kind of my very quickly thoughts about the episode. Does anyone have anything else? Erin says, "I think it was already brewing given how she came into the family, but it's a great depiction of Lillian putting up that wall." Thank you, Erin. Thank you. Sam says, "I feel Lex also thought it'd be easier to control and manipulate someone like Lena, who's younger than Lillian, who is older." Yes. Yeah, that's also true. And that kind of brings me to the point. They're playing chess, and Lex wins, but then they're like, "Okay, let's see how you do with this maneuver." Lillian then leaves, and she's like, "Set it up." So, like, Lex already kind of knows the maneuver, like where the pieces go in the chess game. So maybe this is just this little chess piece that he can grab and put and see what he can do with it. So yeah, Sam, I really like that. Does anyone want to add anything or raise their hand? Say anything? Okay. And I know, like, we're almost at the hour and stuff, and I'm willing to go over and stuff because I know this is taking a very long time. So I really appreciate you all being here and listening and participating and supporting it. It really means a lot, and I hope you are enjoying it. So being said, we are going on to episode 15, which is Exodus. Which is, let's see. I do have to admit that this was the episode that I realized I would not be able to watch the complete episodes and make it in time because I stayed up very late and I woke up this morning. And so I did start jumping around in scenes. So heads up on that. But you know, I've originally watched it a couple times years ago. So it says, anyways, Alex searches for Jeremiah while Kara investigates a series of alien abductions in an effort to get Snapper Carr to run a story that would help her stop Cadmus. Kara agrees to set up an interview between Snapper and Supergirl. There was not a lot of Lena scenes, but one very big one. So I mean, one of my favorite scenes is when Lena gets thrown off the balcony and Supergirl comes up and she is like, drop something. That's my favorite. So does anyone have any thoughts about that or the episode? Rachel says that scene is brilliant. We also get the scene Lena then is back at Catco. Because you have this, you know, billionaire CEO who will just go to someone's workplace, just, you know, to hang out and all that kind of like to like go to lunch. Like she's meeting Kara at like where she is. Like she's not expecting Kara to come to her. Like she's going to Kara. So one of the other favorite lines is when Kara's like, Lena, and then she goes, she said it with surprise in her voice for some reason. I just thought like Katie has that kind of rhythmic part in her voice. Like I just thought that was like very, very kind of charming. And Lena, she does that with Lena a lot. And it's you know, I just kind of really liked that. So does anyone have any thoughts about episode 15? Which is Exodus. Erin said, or we can stop at time and start next time with the episodes we missed this time. Do people want to do that? Like, because it honestly doesn't matter to me. And I do feel like I am rambling. I do ramble a lot. So what do people think? Should we continue on? Or should we stop now? I will wait. Okay, well, if people don't seem to happy to bowl, I'll probably go in a half hour to cook dinner. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm okay with either just giving options. Okay, yeah. And I really appreciate it. Rachel says it's in the UK, so it's 6 p.m. Yeah. I'm in the US, so it's 1. So hopefully it's not too late for other people. So Barbara says I can't stay any longer because I'm going to work. Well, thank you. I feel like I don't mind staying on, but it looks like people do have to go, and I want to be accommodating to people. So I appreciate you all speaking up about it. We can absolutely finish the episodes next time. Maybe I will do, because next week will be intermission. So maybe on like a Tuesday or something, we can continue this, and hopefully I'll be a little more formatted. So it doesn't take as long, because I really didn't expect for it to take so long. I really do appreciate everyone who came and joined. I hope you had a really fun time. I will let you know when we can continue the next episodes. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I can't say it enough. Starting up, I was very nervous to start back up everything, and then to even to do all this and to kind of put my face out there. I had previously done a podcast episode on Supergirl radio and stuff, which I'm very supportive of them because they've been very supportive of me. And so it's that's kind of given me the jump to do this. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that you all come back. So I am going to figure out how to stop the recording. And if anyone wants anything taken out or doesn't want anything said or shared or anything, just let me know. Thank you for letting me know. Or thank you if you let me know. So, oh wait, what someone said, it's been a lot of connection to be able to know you all, albeit virtually, from different parts of the world feels good. Yes, very, very quickly. That's one of my favorite things about the book club is that there's just so many people from all over the world. And if you have not sent me your information for the international book swap, please do. And if this is the first time you're hearing about it, we did this years and years ago when the book club first started. Basically, you send a book to someone and someone sends a book to you. So it's kind of like this little chain reaction. You send a book, you get a book. It could be your favorite book. It could be your favorite Katie book. It could be any book. So if you would like to participate in that, let me know. Send me a direct message. All information is kept private. Right now, we only have maybe 3 or 4 people who have signed up to do it. So I'm hoping to look for more. There's people in the UK, Mexico, Brazil, and I'm trying to maybe 2 people from Mexico or Brazil. I'm trying to remember. But years ago, there were like a dozen different countries, and it was amazing. So if you'd like to do that, let me know.